Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Safe House. I'm Jeff Edwards, co-founder of SafeHouse Initiative and your host for today's podcast. Enjoy. Did you ever stop to think what to do when you personally have been a victim of a cyber attack or a cyber crime of some sort? Well, today we have a real enlightening guest for you. Charlotte Hooper is head of operations for the Cyber Helpline, and she comes with a wealth of experience that she's willing to share with us and talk with us. Charlotte, welcome to the Safe House.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, I tell you what, it's first time to the Safe House, so our listeners would be really want to know about your background, how your journey to where you got to today at the Cyber Helpline. So share with us your journey, please.
Yeah, so I guess my journey is really not traditional, but I don't think anybody's in cybersecurity is. I started off in the beauty industry for, 6 or 7 years, and then transitioned into policing. So I was really interested in the policing space, having kind of grown up around my parents watching true crime documentaries. And whilst I was interested in that and wanted to start a career in it, they started professionalising policing in the UK, which basically meant you had to have an undergraduate degree to get into the police. And they scrapped it. It ended up being something that only lasted a couple of years. So now I have a degree that's not really worth anything, but nevertheless, I did that. And
So
it
when you
was
say police, Shirley, I'm sorry, for our audience in other parts of the world, policing being like a police, a beat cop or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I hadn't really decided you had to have a degree to kind of become just a police officer, a beat cop in general.
Hmm.
There was no particular area I was really interested in. I think at the time, really, my interest was around kind of DNA and DNA forensics.
Hmm.
Um, but it just so happened really that I noticed this massive gap in support or lack of training in cybercrime.
Hmm.
And you have to get a degree to get into the police. We're studying all sorts of stuff like resilience in policing and how the police started in the UK. And we had one module on cybercrime, and it was great module, but it just didn't really cover all bases. And I was thinking to myself, cybercrime is in the news all the time. I didn't know this then, but now I realize that cybercrime makes up around 58% of all crimes in the UK, and we think similar numbers in the US. But
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
something you would just see. I was just seeing in the news every day, and I was thinking, as if I was kind of a police officer and somebody had reported something, cyber stalking, fraud, malware, whatever it might be, to the police, and I was sent out to go and speak to them, I probably wouldn't know what I was talking about or what I was advising them or what evidence I should be gathering.
Huh.
And it was just really a gap for me. And honestly, kind of that's what sparked kind of my interest in cyber. I came across the Cyber Helpline and started volunteering for the charity in my second year at university because I wanted to learn more.
Hmm.
And it very quickly changed my whole perspective on what I wanted to do with my career. And I've been here ever since because what I actually found is that the real crisis in cyber was emotional. People weren't
Hmm.
just dealing with those technical compromises, but they're dealing with fear, loss of trust, and feelings of being disbelieved by the system and being isolated. So it was really kind of that kind of shaped my transition into cybercrime, and I've been working in the cyber helpline for 8 years now.
Oh, sounds like a very personal type of an experience.
For sure. And I think, the people that we support, I really resonated with really early on. I'd never really thought of cybercrime as having the impact that I now know that it does. These are people that, are in a really tough place in their life. Even when people have lost hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, they're coming to us
Yeah.
and saying, I don't care about the money. I mean, it would be nice to have the money back. But actually,
Right.
I feel, like I've let myself down, I've let my family down.
Oh,
My mental health is deteriorating. I just don't know what to do next.
wow. Well, in our original conversation, you'd shared with us that you had been a victim. You discovered that you had been a victim. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that's right. I guess it was about 6 months after I'd actually started at the Cyber Helpline. So
Hmm.
it was really kind of early on. It was really coincidental. It had nothing to do with the Cyber Helpline. I hadn't come across it because I was Googling myself or anything like that. All
Yeah.
that had happened is I was sat in a university lecture one day, and I received a text from somebody who, or a Facebook message actually it was, who I'd only met maybe once or twice. I didn't really know, and it was just a message with a link, and it said, "Is this you?" And immediately I'm like, I'm not clicking that. I've been doing cyber stuff for 6 months. Like that looks like a phishing link. And I didn't click it. 5 minutes later, I got loads of screenshots from him of just pictures of my face, and I thought that's weird. I looked at it more and realized all of these pictures were on an X-rated site
Oh
with
my.
just captions underneath every image describing the most horrendous kind of sexual acts this person wanted to do to me.
Oh my.
Um, and I was really in shock at the time. I didn't know what to do next. It was, one of these experiences that you never think it's going to happen to you, and then it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a bit of a shock.
Wow. Well, at least you were at the right place to help realize it and to deal with it. You had people around you, I'd imagine, at the Cyber Helpline.
Yeah, exactly. And that was it. And I think that, it didn't take long for me to find out who it was. It ended up being, and it wasn't just me it was happening to, it's happening to a few other people as well. So it's kind of a team effort. And we've ended up finding out that it was this guy who had been following me on what was Twitter at the time since I was around kind of 12, 13 years old, because I had a very strong social media presence when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I was followed by a lot of older men, but at the time I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, I'm not messaging them back, so it doesn't really
Hmm.
matter.
Hmm.
But this guy in particular had been messaging me all the time, every day, saying, "Hello, hey, I wish we could talk more." And again, I just ignore it, but it all ended up linking back to him. Um, and so I reported it to the police with the information we had on who it was. And I had the most kind of awful experience where, even though this guy, I came to find out, only lived 20 minutes down the road from me, he was really nearby. And I
Hmm.
think that's why he kind of used my pictures more than anybody else's.
Hmm.
But it was kind of, he was still in a different jurisdiction in terms of the police. So we have separate police forces covering
Hmm.
each county in the UK. And he was in a different county, technically. So the police were not sure who should be handling it. They passed me back and forth between my police force and his police force over the course of about, I think, around 6 months. I was passed back and forth between them 3 or 4 times, until his police force eventually, which they should have done in the first place, decided to step up and say, yeah, we should take this.
Yeah.
And it was, I think that was really one of the moments for me that really stood out, because even having, started a degree in policing and having worked with the Cyber Helpline or volunteered with the Cyber Helpline for 6 months, I was still in a position where I really couldn't advocate for myself. And
Hmm.
trying to get the police to decide which of them was going to take it was such a difficult process. And I started to think to myself, well, what would anybody who hadn't had the experience I had do? They probably would have given up, but I kept chasing them. Um, and then when eventually a police officer did come out to see me, he was a lovely guy. But he was, a 60-year-old guy, had no clue about cyber. He sat there and kind of was just asking me about everything I was saying. Some of the pictures were on
Hmm.
Reddit, so I had to explain to him what Reddit was. I had to explain to him what all these different sexual acronyms meant that this guy was putting in the posts.
Hmm.
And as kind of a 19-year-old sat there trying to explain this to a 60-year-old guy at the time, that was pretty traumatizing in itself. So it
Hmm.
wasn't a great experience. They did eventually arrest the guy, or they gave him a warning. It was really a slap on the wrist. But that's more than I think I expected at the time, having worked with cybercrime victims and survivors for such a long time. I'd really started to realize the gap in the justice system for cyber.
Interesting. So, well, I'm sorry you had to go through all that, but hey, how about, could you tell us a bit about the Cyber Helpline, how it's organized and how it operates?
Yeah, sure. So we started the Cyber Helpline in the UK about 8 years ago now. I lose track of time. It's gone so fast.
Mm.
But we started to try and help fill that gap in support for victims of cybercrime and online harm. It was started by our CEO, Rory, who had been working in cybersecurity for years and really realized that whatever organization he worked at, they were getting calls from individuals asking for help. And the companies he was working for they weren't well equipped to give that support. They couldn't, offer it for free, and individuals are having to pay a lot of money to get that help. So he really quickly realized that gap and started the Cyber Helpline, and we've been operating ever since. So the way we work is that we're a charity, a UK registered charity, that support people experiencing cybercrime and online harm. And we work with individuals, not organisations. So this could be anything from hacked accounts to sextortion, romance fraud, domestic abuse, stalking, identity theft, like you name it, anything malicious that happens online, we help with. And we provide that support worldwide through our chatbot. And then we have a free helpline in the UK and the USA. So we are completely staffed, completely staffed by volunteers, other than a couple of members of staff that we have to deal with some of our more high risk cases. And all of our volunteers are from the cybersecurity industry. So we have everybody from students in their second year of college all the way through to people who have been CISOs or retired from the industry and want to use their spare time to give back. So we use an assisted self-help model. So we don't just fix the problem for someone. We don't remotely or physically access their devices, but we guide them step by step to fix it with them, with a focus on empowerment. Because when someone has been violated online, the biggest harm isn't just the financial or the technical, but it's that loss of control that we want to aim to help people get back through a trauma-informed approach.
So you said that you're in the UK and the US, and but you have an eye for the rest of the world by chance?
Yeah, so our chatbot is open to everybody across the world, and our chatbot's built with an LLM that's able to diagnose issue presented to it in plain English from the general public about what's happening to them, and able to diagnose that and give a name to it, and then provide some guidance written by us on some immediate steps that person can take to help them to understand what's happened and to recover from the attack and report it. And as I said, if they do need more help, then our helpline's available for people in the UK and the USA for completely free.
So as a thought leader in this arena, what kind of trends should we all be looking for in similar evolutions of not only the Cyber Helpline, but other entities out there? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that, cybercrime is cybercrime at the end of the day. The motive is often the same. And we have some amazing organizations worldwide who provide support to businesses and small businesses in particular. There's some great people doing some great work for free. But the goal is always the same. There's either a motive of financial gain, a motive of taking something or someone down, a motive of revenge, for example. So we're seeing that, the trends that we're seeing in individuals are often some of the same trends that are happening to organizations as well. It's always kind of the same target, the same skills. At the end of the day, cyber criminals might not necessarily be the most technical people, and they don't have to be if they're really skilled marketers. It's all about getting somebody to click a link, to get them to do something they wouldn't usually do, catching them at the wrong time. It's the same skills we're seeing being used in adverts on TV. So I think that, that bit is always the same. And what we're seeing is kind of some of the trends is that AI is accelerating both the volume and the believability of some of these frauds and scams. We're seeing mass-produced messages that are highly personalized still. We're seeing voice cloning used to imitate family and colleagues, and deepfakes being used in sextortion, in blackmail, in social engineering. And this means that emotional manipulation piece is becoming that much more effective, because as much as you can write a message that's generic and send it to everybody and it feels urgent, now we've got more legitimacy behind it, more intimacy behind it, when it's also able to personalize those messages towards people as well.
Yeah. So yeah. So the Cyber Helpline's on the remedy end of things, kind of coaching people through it. Do you have relationships or partnerships with educational, or the education
Right.
organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work really closely with some of our partners here in the UK, like Get Safe Online, who are a great resource for
Mm,
some of those preventative measures. And we're always kind of more than happy to work with people in that space and have done. Our focus really is on, like you say, on recovery and how do we help someone once they've experienced the crime. And
mm,
the main reason being behind that, we can try and prevent things all day long, but it's going to happen. Cyber criminals are always going to find ways around things, and it's great to minimize that impact. We work really closely to share some of our trends and the threats that we're seeing so that we
yeah.
can help to prevent it from happening to others. And that is often, a lot of the time, one of the reasons that people come to us. Maybe they've lost money and or something's happened to them, and they just want to share that knowledge to make sure that we can do everything we can to prevent it from happening. So we work really hard on sharing that knowledge where we can.
Well, the Safe House is designed for small, mid-sized businesses, but individuals work for those very companies.
Right.
So, the trend and the vulnerability of individuals and where to go. It's really nice to know they have some place to go, and
Sure.
and that's exciting, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is so relevant to businesses as well. We see people who are coming to
Mm,
us all the time who have had to leave their job. They're not performing at work. They've had to take sick leave because of cybercrime that's happening to them. And not only that, but these cybercrimes can follow people through their work lives as well. We've had
mhm.
stalking cases where businesses have been attacked because they're trying to gain information on one individual that works there, or they're showing up at the workplace and interfering with things happening there. So really, think anything that happens to individual becomes kind of something that impacts an organization as well.
Well, Charlotte, I tell you, this is really enlightening. And is there, if you had one thing to offer the audience to say, you should do this today, what would that one thing be?
So hard to put it down to just one thing because there's
Yeah,
so many things I can think of.
yeah.
And I think, the thing that I've been talking about a lot recently is that cybercrime isn't a technical issue. It's a human one. It's all about that marketing. And I do think that that's a really important thing to kind of take away and to remember. We can work all day behind the scenes on coding and things like that. But, if we remember that the skills behind cybercriminals are marketers, and now with AI, they don't even need to have that skill in marketing. They can just ask AI to do it for them. We're seeing
Yeah.
that there's this kind of chain of events where as much as you can possibly secure your systems, it is down to not necessarily the people in your company, but the cyber criminals themselves and how good they are at getting people to do what they want. And I think the second thing is really to listen and validate and support people when they
Mm,
disclose being a cybercrime, have experience in a cybercrime. Because I think at one point in our lives, everybody has said that would never happen to me.
yeah.
And almost every person I speak to that has contacted the Cyber Helpline says the exact same thing. I never thought this would happen to me, but it
Mm,
happens, and that's our job is to help people through that. So I think making sure that even if you don't fully understand the issue, believe in that person. Even if you can't help them to take steps right now, but believe in them is really important, and that is intervention in itself.
Charlotte, I'm so glad we met and had a chance to have this conversation, and I think this is going to help a lot of people. And actually, the Cyber Helpline is going to be the Cyber Helpline is going to be joining the Safe House Initiative as a content contributor.
Yes, I'm very excited for that, and I think there's a lot we can do. I think the more organisations understand the impact of cybercrime on individuals, the more they can help the people that are working for them as well.
Yeah, we'll be part of the education on the front end of that, on the remedy side that you take care of.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to be a part of that.
I am too. Well, Charlotte, thank you ever so much on behalf of Safe House Initiative and all of our listeners. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's That's our episode. We greatly appreciate you joining us and hope it was a wonderful learning experience. I'm your host, Jeff Edwards, and remember, be safe, be resilient, and be kind to each other. For more educational materials, please visit us at safehouseinitiative.org. All materials are free from tracking, promotions, memberships, or fees of any kind. SafeHouse Initiative is an all-volunteer organization.